I'm Glenn Davidson, and today I'm going to show you how to set up the over-the-shoulder box on the switcher. What this process does is take an image that's stored in the frame memory and puts it in the upper left or upper right side of the screen to simulate the way it's done in live news broadcasts. Just a reminder that if you have graphics that need to be put into the switcher, please email them to me at davidsong@montclair.edu. Before we get started, I want to explain a few concepts to you. Up to this point, you have been using only the program preview bus for your switches. The top row of buttons sends the source to program, and the bottom row puts the source in preview. You've also been taking titles and lower thirds using the downstream keyer. This uses key 1 of the 4 available keys, and these keys are also considered a bus, just like the program and preview are. That is, for the most part, the extent of the program preview bus. If you want to do something a little more demanding, like take a full frame graphic, put it into the key bus, shrink it down, and put it over the shoulder on the left or right side of the screen, you'll need to use the ME bus, or Mix Effects Bus. As the name implies, the Mix Effects Bus is far more equipped to handle a wide variety of effects and is able to process the OTS box easily. Just keep in mind that the ME bus is treated as its own source on the program preview bus. So you could have camera 7 in the ME bus, but that's not the same as the camera 7 button on program preview. They are in fact two separate sources. This will make more sense as I describe the OTS buttons. So without further ado, let's get started. When you're at the switcher position, take a look at the lower right side of the switcher panel, and you should see a button pad with 6 specific buttons on it. Cam 5 FM1L, Cam 6 FM1L, Cam 7 FM1L, Cam 5 FM1R, Cam 6 FM1R, and Cam 7 FM1R. Should this pad look any different from what is shown on the screen here, do not touch it and get an engineer to set it back to this configuration. This pad is used for many functions on the switcher panel, and it's possible this keypad is changed based on these functions. The names of the buttons each tell you what they do once you press them. In the case of Cam 5 FM1L, it puts camera 5 in the program of the ME2 bus, and also puts the contents of FM1 into a box on the upper left side, in key 1 of the ME2 bus, hence it being Cam 5 FM1L. If you follow that naming structure, you can figure out what the other buttons do. Cam 6 FM1L does the same thing, only it puts camera 6 in ME2 instead of 5. Cam 7 FM1L does the same thing with camera 7. And buttons Cam 5 FM1R, Cam 6 FM1R, and Cam 7 FM1R all do the same thing as their FM1L counterparts, but it puts the box on the right side instead of the left. The FM1L buttons are on the left side of the pad, and the FM1R buttons are on the right side of the pad to help you remember this. And again, the reason it needs to be put in the ME2 bus is because this functionality is not available on the usual program preview bus you have been using in your projects up to this point. And the ME2 bus can handle this effect quite easily. Also keeping that in mind, you have to treat this as a separate source from the camera 5, 6, and 7 sources on the program preview bus. So how does this translate into your newscast project? Let's say for your next shot, you have to use the image on the right side of camera 7. You would take camera 7 as is in the script. But how do you bring in the box? Put ME2 in preview. Then press the corresponding button on the keypad which matches where the box should be in your script. In this case, it's Cam 7 FM1R. When the director calls for it, use the Auto Trans button or the T-bar to dissolve the source in. If done correctly, it'll look like the image is fading onto the screen. Then when the director calls for it to be removed, hit the Auto Trans again or use the T-bar to bring camera 7 back on program. Some of you may be wondering what to do if your image is in FM2 or FM3, an image that's not in FM1. There are a couple things you can do. Firstly, if you look at the actual ME2 bus, you can see how the sources are set when you hit each button on the keypad. The camera source is on program for the ME2 bus, and the box is in key 1 of the ME2 bus. After hitting the button on the keypad, you can then go and hit the frame memory source that contains your image. Keep in mind that if you have images set to FM5 through FM8, you will have to hold down the shift button to call the correct image up. Alternatively, you can go into the frame memory menu on the touchscreen and change which image is in FM1. Choose whichever one you feel more comfortable with, but I would recommend using the touchscreen if you have several images, as it can be less confusing. And that's pretty much it. Now you know all you need to know to pull up OTS boxes and make your newscast projects look tighter and more polished. If you have any questions on anything I've talked about during this video, or again if you have graphics that need to be loaded into the switcher, feel free to email me at davidsong@montclair.edu. Thanks and have a great day.